Starting in January and going all the way through to December 2020, we'll literally, one event at a time, be going through the story of his life, starting with childhood. And some chapters are more looking at an aspect of his life, so how he survived as a composer, financially, deafness, love life. And by the time we get through to the 11th event, which will feature the Ninth Symphony, you should have a pretty good idea of quite a complicated, difficult life, which sort of makes it even more remarkable what he left us in the way of the music. Yes.
So the music will be the theme throughout every event, but then yes, the narrative and the dialogue, is that something you'll be bringing to each to kind of educate or enlighten people about what happens?
Educate's a funny word, but hopefully inspire people. So during the concerts themselves, which happen in the middle of the night, I generally talk a bit before we play the music, and we sort of talk, play, and hopefully by the end of the evening, whatever we've been focusing on, the audience can go away thinking, wow, Beethoven was going deaf, or wow, his love life was a complete disaster, or whatever it is. So we try and keep it quite sort of essential. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about the Little Orchestra and kind of what they represent and how that came together.
What do we represent? I think we represent wanting to make classical music feel very open and accessible to everyone. I've obviously always been involved in music, but sometimes have struggled a bit with the traditional format, which can feel a bit like you either have your fun night out or you go to a concert. So we've tried to combine those two things so that a young audience who might not necessarily typically go can take a chance on having a fun night out and discovering Beethoven and others, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, it's interesting that you say that about the kind of accessibility to classical music. A lot of people may view it as something that your parents' generation might go to because they will understand it. But I guess that's where this event makes things slightly different.
Yes, so essentially what we're not doing is changing the music, but everything around it. So the environment, the atmosphere is designed to be 21st century. So we go into empty spaces, we bring in sofas, we do a themed cocktail bar, we design the whole space according to whatever the theme is of the music or the story we're telling, so that when people arrive, they're literally, every aspect of the event is there to tell the story we want to tell. And really the stories, I think stories are the way in. When you start telling people a good story, it's a human thing. So we use the story to help people connect with, it can often be quite challenging music if you've never been exposed to it. So, and then after the main concert, people can relax and have more drinking. So you don't have to choose between Friday night out and the music. We sort of try and make it both.
Trying to bring them both together. And what's it like for you? Because you are not only leading the orchestra, but you're also making sure that the audience is aware of the stories and kind of narrating it at the same time.
It's challenging. It's interesting. I went to a concert recently, much bigger orchestra, very famous conductor who was doing the talking, and he talked just at the beginning, and when he finished he was like, oh, just give me 5 minutes, I'm now going to go and get ready to conduct. I was like, oh, that's amazing, because it's hard to talk, conduct, talk. They're completely two different brains, I guess. So that, I would say, is one of the really challenging things of having to sort of switch from talk to right now I've got 60 musicians who I have to connect with. So I'd say that is quite challenging.
One of the challenges of taking this on. What do you hope that your audiences over the next year are going to take away with them? We already have established that they don't need to know everything about Beethoven.
They don't need to know anything. I mean, that's exactly the kind of person we're doing it for. I guess everyone's heard the name Beethoven, but even if that's all you know, or ba 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 bum is the only thing you've ever heard, it's precisely designed so that people can discover. I mean, he is one of the great artists of not just music. So, and I think one of the reasons we've made such a big sort of focus on Beethoven's big anniversary is because, as an introduction to classical music, Beethoven is amazing. I mean, the music is extraordinary, but the story is extraordinary as well. So I would say if you had the courage to come to 11 events on Beethoven over a year, I would very much hope you would be moved by the story of this man and this artist.